go ahead and cue up the other audio. Okay, I want you to listen to Brian Stelter. Okay, the human thumb on CNN. I want you to listen to what he had to say about Trump leading a cult.
The word cult has been popping up more and more. Think back to 2 weeks ago on this program, Anthony Scaramucci talked about his claim that Trump supporters are in a cult. Just last week, Dan Rather said he thinks support for Trump seems increasingly cultish. And this weekend in the Washington Post, Trump critic and Republican strategist John Weaver said the GOP is not a party anymore in the traditional sense, it's a cult. But none of them are mental health experts. Stephen Hassan is. He's out with a brand new book called The Cult of Trump. He has firsthand experience escaping the Unification Church back in the 70s, and he's decided to write this book because he believes there's something seriously wrong with our politics.
So I define a destructive cult as an authoritarian pyramid-structured group with someone at the top who claims to have total power and total wisdom that uses deception and control of behavior, information, thoughts, and emotions to make people loyal and dependent and obedient followers. So for me, the issue of between an ethical, healthy cult where you're free to think and free to leave versus a destructive cult, I'm referring to Trump's organization and followership as a destructive cult where people are being fed propaganda and they're not being encouraged to think for themselves. They're not being encouraged to really explore and look at the details and arrive at their own conclusion. Much of what they're hearing is emotionally driven, loaded words, thought-stopping and thought-terminating type cliches like fake news or build the wall or make America great again.
You say the president is using mind control, but how's that provable?
So we can start with the pathological lying, which is characteristic of destructive cult leaders.
Okay. So this dude's name is Stephen Hassan, and he's on Brian Stelter's program. Of course, Brian Stelter is one of the laughing stocks of news media because of how often he has been wrong and has refused to cover really big stories to protect his friends. So anyway, Stephen Hassan, let's go over some of his points. I started looking up some cult stuff, even though a lot of this is common sense, right? So what do people in cults do? They get multiple people out there in the cult repeating the same talking point over and over and over and over again. This is the Goebbels model, right? Repeat a lie often enough, it becomes the truth. Hitler also said much the same thing. They were of one mind on this. So you get multiple people repeating a single talking point over and over again. And we just played you 2 of the 3 years of a montage of them in the news media, repeating the same talking point over and over again. Completely wrong. And we just started the segment off. Well, I should say that Brian Stelter started the segment off with multiple people, once again, repeating a single talking point in a simplistic way. This is something that cults do. It's like bumper sticker slogans, right? He's a cult, 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 over and over and over and over again. And Brian Stelter's doing the lack of self-awareness here is absolutely staggering, okay? Staggering. Then you have the cult of personality, using mass media to create an idealized and heroic public image. Who does that? The political left. They use mass media to talk about how Republicans and conservatives are evil, they're racist, they're homophobes, they're sexist, they're transphobic, they hate children, they hate migrants, they're xenophobic, all sorts of things, right? And everybody on the left, they love human rights. They love everybody. They're for human beings. Everybody on the right is evil, right? So that's cult of personality. Then you have modern propagandists. Well, this is if you start looking up cult and propaganda, by the way, you'll start running into this in all of the papers on it. Modern propagandists, quote, hire popular personalities to promote their ideas. Who does that? Once again, the political left. They hire celebrities to go out there and tell you things that are their political ideas. And most of the time, those things, for example, guns and gun control, are not based in fact. Okay, They're actually emotional. And we'll get to that here in just a second. Then you have what he was claiming about Trump, authoritarian group who claims to have total wisdom. Again, you're describing the political left. They're very authoritarian. They claim to have the wisdom. Trump is a dolt. He's an idiot. He's a moron. Report today, Obama, after their 2016 meeting, says Trump doesn't know anything about anything. He also said, Stephen Hassan, in this segment, Trump uses deception and controls behavior, thoughts, and emotion. That's what Antifa and the social justice warriors and the political left in particular on campuses does. Okay? They deceive. Trump is a Russian agent. If you're a Democrat and you don't toe the party line enough, you're also a Russian agent. Talk to Tulsi Gabbard about that one. So that's deceptive. Trump has committed crimes. There is no evidence of that, but people believe it because it's deceptive. Controls behavior. Who controls behavior? The political left. You're not allowed to say, do, or, we just had Halloween, right? You can't dress up in costumes. You can't do that. You can't celebrate Thanksgiving because it's an oppressor's holiday, okay? They control thoughts and emotion. Who runs on emotion in the political sphere of the United States? The news media does. All of their newscasts play to your emotions because that's how they get ratings. And the political left, of course, is all about emotion, not logic. Then he also said this, destructive cult where people are fed propaganda, not encouraged to think for themselves. Who protests speakers at college campuses again? That's right, the political left. Much of what they are hearing is emotionally driven. Again, you hurt my feelings, therefore you're not allowed to say it. That's the political left. That's not the right. Not encouraged to look at details and come to their own conclusions. Again, that is the political left. Consistently, in particular, Antifa and college campuses. And then you have ad nauseum. Now, ad nauseum is where you use tireless repetition of an idea, especially using simple slogans like cult, 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 cult at the beginning of that very segment that Brian Stelter, the human thumb, went into. Ladies and gentlemen, I fear for Brian Stelter. He appears to be a part of a cult, and I think that was a cry for help. We have more coming up. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's News Channel.